All right, so the old Shadowbox and I sort of had we'll call it a falling out. Basically, I went to glue it up, and when I got everything all glued up, clamped up, things weren't quite square, so I thought, yeah, that's not really a problem, I can fix that. So I went to go fix that. And then things kind of split. One of the pieces split on me, and I decided that I would try and glue that together, the part that split, and that didn't really work. So then I just beat it apart with a mallet, and before the glue actually set up, I guess, I took a mallet to it and broke it apart so that way I could try and at least save a couple pieces. And I have a couple pieces. These are the two side pieces. I was going to cut them up so that I could, or I guess, yeah. So I was going to cut them up so I could use these old side pieces as the new top and bottom pieces. But then I noticed that there was a beginnings of a check in one of the side pieces, and then upon exploiting that, I found out that it pretty much ran about halfway, so I just ended up scrapping that and going with an all new one. So it's pretty much the same thing. It's all the same dimensions. It's still 24 inches wide, 28 inches tall, except for I decided to go with regular dovetails, and instead of doing half blinds to hide the grooves, I just did through dovetails with a notch. So there's this little notch right here that kind of hides that groove. So instead of having a hole there, that's covered up. But I did have to cut the back panel down just a little bit to fit. I think I had to take a 1/4 inch off of the height because of the half blind dovetails before. I didn't account for that, so it was actually 28 1/4 tall instead of 28. So closer to specs on this one. But I don't know. Overall, I'm okay with it. This I didn't really record because I had already recorded everything else for the first carcass. But basically, same thing, except for I'm doing through dovetails instead of half blinds. And overall, I'm okay with that. I think this one so far has turned out quite a bit better than the previous one. The dovetails on this one are a lot better fitting, and everything just feels a little bit better than the last one. So I guess that's good. And then I wasn't really that happy with how the old front was turning out. I was doing those sort of half lap sort of miter joints. So this is kind of what I was doing before. I had these sort of half lap joints and mitered them that way, and it kind of works, but at the same time not all of them fit quite that well, and it's really hard to adjust these. It's really hard to tune them because only this one can go in my shooting board. This one I obviously can't because it's got that end. So I ended up just using my miter box, my Stanley 358 over there, and I cut these new pieces and I shot them on my shooting board. I'm not gonna lie, I did cheat. Well, I haven't cheated yet, but I'm going to cheat. I did use the biscuit joiner, I guess. It's like the third, maybe fourth time I've ever actually used it, and this will be the first time that I've used it to actually use for biscuits. So far, the other times I've used it, it was just to cut the holes real quick to use tabletop fasteners, because it works great for that. But yeah, anyway, so these are just regular miters, because then I could shoot them on the shooting board, and that worked out great. Everything fits a lot better, so I'm happy with that part of it. And I use the biscuits when I glue up just to help keep everything aligned. So now what I'm doing is I've got my number 45 here, and I'm just going to use that to cut these rabbets on the inside. That's what I've been doing so far, and that's one more that I have left to do. So I'm going to do that, and then this should pretty much be ready to glue up at that point. So that'll be the next step, and then getting this one glued up. So let's get this one done, and then we can move on to the rest of that kind of stuff.